In this video, we're going to look at the different ways of creating and working with tracks. Now, to create new tracks, there's a new track dialog box that we can get to by hitting this plus button, or we can get to it under the track menu here, new, or we can use the key command, Option Command N for new. And I'd suggest learning this command because it's probably going to be a frequently used command for creating new tracks. So let's look at this. We can select how many tracks we want to create in one go. And we choose what type of track, audio, software instrument, and if it's software instrument, we can optionally choose multitimbral for software instruments that respond multitimbrally, and external MIDI tracks. Now you'll see at the bottom there's an open library checkbox, and that's the same in all of these. It defaults to being off for now, but that's available on the bottom one of each of these submenus, and that'll do as expected, open up the library. Now, when you're selecting audio tracks, or rather creating audio tracks, you can choose the format that you want them to be in. And if you have an audio interface with multiple ins and outs, you can set which input you want assigned to the track. And if you're selecting multiple tracks, you can choose if you want them to be ascending and assigned consecutively, which is good if you're setting up, let's say, to record some drums, and you need 8 tracks with a bunch of different inputs set to each one. That's useful for that. And similarly for output settings, you can choose which output pair you want, and if you're creating multiple tracks, assign them in ascending order. Input monitoring and record enable allow you to create the new tracks with this I and R button optionally on the track ready to go, which you may or may not want, but you have the option there. Software instrument tracks, basically you can assign the output. There's not much else to assign, and you have the ascending button if you're creating multiple software instrument tracks. And for external MIDI tracks, it's useful to open the library where you can reassign what port and MIDI channel you want to address there. So for now, let's create an audio track, and I'm just going to create one. So there's our new audio track. Now, let's say I want to create a new track with the same channel strip setting. Let's say I call up some plugins. Let's say I'm going to call up a setting here, and I'll call up a channel strip setting here with a lot of plugins on it so you can see what I'm getting at. And let's say I want to create another track with the same channel strip settings. What I can do is use the second button here. Now this creates a new channel strip or new track, but with all these settings duplicated. I can also use the key command, Command D for duplicate, or under the track menu, I can go new with duplicate settings. Now if I open the mixer here, you'll see that those are two separate audio tracks, audio 2 and audio 3, both assigned with the exact same channel strip settings. So that's useful if you, let's say, have some guitar processing that you really like and want to record another guitar track quickly with the same settings. You just hit that command and you're good to go with a new track. Let's just hit the delete key to get rid of this. And to get rid of this one, I can hit the delete key, but I'll show you another cool way of getting rid of tracks. You can just drag them to the left, and you can get rid of them like that. And once we're looking at cool things, let me show you another interesting little shortcut. This new tracks dialog box, if you option click on it, you'll immediately create a new track of the same type, but assigned to the next available channel strip. And you can also just double click at the bottom to achieve the same thing. So very useful. All right, now let's say I want to create a track set to the same channel strip or instrument assignment. Now this is important. I want to show you how this works. I'm going to open up this box and I'm going to create a software instrument track. Now, let's say I have an EXS-24 called up on here and I'm programming some drums on instrument 1. And let's say I want to have another track addressing the exact same instrument, because let's say maybe I want to split out the kick and snare on one track or the hi-hats on another. What I can do is I can go under the menu here and go new with same channel strip instrument. So it's the same thing. And the key command shortcut for that is Option, Command, and the return key. And another cool shortcut is option clicking this button. So that'll do the same thing. So that way it's all addressing the same instrument, but I can have different information on different tracks. So that's useful for when I find particularly useful for programming MIDI drums. Now, personally, what I find the most handiest key command for all of this new track assignment functionality is Option Command X. And that'll create a new track with the next available instrument. And that's the same as option clicking on that. And it's just a quick way, Option Command X, to quickly call up a new track with the next available instrument. All right, let's say you want to create a new track with the next MIDI channel. Now this is important. Let's say I'm going to call up the new tracks dialog box, And I'm going to call up a software instrument, a multi-timbral software instrument, but with only, let's say, 4 channels enabled. So we got instrument 1 4 times, and you'll see in the inspector over here that they're assigned to different unique MIDI channels. And let's say I want to now get to the 5th one. Well, what I can do is use the menu command, and that's under here, new with next MIDI channel, there's our 5th, or option command M for MIDI. That's useful. And even if your default instrument that you created isn't multi-timbral, it will allow you to do that. And that's useful because you sometimes decide once you're in the middle of working that you want to make it multi-timbral. So that's really important. Now let's look at copying tracks and moving regions. I'm going to create a bunch of tracks here. Now let's say I want to have a copy of audio track 2 down here. I can option click and drag down, and there I've just created a copy of 2. Now what's really powerful about this is if you hold down the option key before you grab the track, it'll exclude any of the region selections. So, let's say we have a bunch of regions on this track here, and anywhere else. We got regions all over the place. Right now I have these 2 selected, and I want to make a copy of 3. Now I'm going to hold down option, click that, and move that down there, and you see it didn't affect the selection. But if I click first, let me click again and just establish a selection. There we go. If I click first and then hold down option and drag, it'll move those regions with the track. Now there's some other ways for automatic track creation based on regions. So let's say I have a bunch of regions that are overlapping each other like that. And they're overlapping, some start and stop in different places like that. What I can do is, let's say I select the track and have all of them selected. I can go under track and go new for overlapped regions. And there it's just created a bunch of new tracks to space those overlapped regions out on. Go undo. Now let's say I select a bunch of tracks. I'll click with the pointer tool here and just make a bunch of selections like that. And let's say I want to create new tracks just for those. I can go new for selected regions. And it creates duplicates of the track and places them underneath. So a good way of managing tracks. So those are the main things I wanted to look at. You can also select a track by clicking on its name or icon, and that'll select all the regions on the track. But if you hold down option, it won't. It won't affect any of the region selections. So that's important to know because sometimes you need to do that. And you can, of course, rearrange the order of tracks just by clicking and grabbing and dragging like that. You can drag on the icon or on the name. So that's it for this video, some different ways of creating and generating tracks. Stay tuned, and I'll see you for more next time.